Record.
All right. Oh yeah, it's just to let you know, I have like two monitors, so I'll be looking up a lot because that's where my notes are. I'm not spacing out or anything.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, my presentation is just on cold showers and meditation and how these things could benefit you as well. Like we'll just do some like myth busting just to clarify some things and move on from there. So preface is I have a background in mechanical engineering, so like physiology or sport exercise science is really not my domain. But like for the benefits of these practices, I'll try to include like uh, conclusions drawn from studies wherever I can. If not, it'll be mostly anecdotal, and I'll ask like Kevin for some input as well because I know he's done some of these things before. So why should we care about doing these things? Well, obviously the goal of every athlete is to perform at the best at the right time. Our ultimate performance really depends on our physical ability that you accumulate over time, but as well as your acute mental focus. Obviously, if you're distracted or you have negative thoughts, it can impact your optimal performance. So I just want to do a quick survey. Like, how many people have ever used like either cold water immersion or ice as a recovery tool in the past? You just like give a thumbs up in the presentation. I can't see the thumbs up, so you have to let me know. Oh, actually, I could see it. Only one person. I've actually done it myself before,
I
but
don't
it's
know how
not
to thumbs up, so this is my thumbs up.
okay. All right. That's like what, 3 out of 6? It's like 50%. So the RICE model, as I'm sure all of you know, is basically a injury recovery protocol that was coined in 1978 by Dr. Merkin. But over time, as more people have had the chance to research the impact of cold water immersion, it's actually been shown that icing actually slows down the healing process due to blood vessel constriction. So when the blood vessels are constricted, the inflammatory cells in your body are able to access the site of injury as readily as they'd like to. In fact, the model is so skewed from what we know nowadays that Dr. Merkin, he doesn't actually support the RICE model anymore. So all the hard work he did in the early 80s has gone to waste. But the reason for this is we have a much better understanding of molecular mechanisms nowadays. That's why this model is like really outdated. And in fact, a meta-analysis of 198 cold water immersion studies actually showed that long-term exposure or long-term use of cold water immersion actually reduces your reduces your gains from like a strength and muscle mass gain perspective. The reason for this is when you expose yourself to like when you're immersed in cold water, like post exercise as a recovery tool, what happens is when you're exercising, you're exerting a specific area of the body to resistance. And when you are immersed in cold water, you actually blunt like the signal that tells your body that your body that tells you blunt the signal that tells your brain that your body has undergone like resistance and needs like resources. So it's actually not allocating the proper resources to wherever part of your body has been worked out. So benefits. So most of you are Asian. I'm sure like your parents have told you before that if you're like if you go outside in the cold, you're gonna get sick. Well, actually, they did a study in 2016 that showed like the opposite. So scientifically, you actually have a 30% chance of being less sick if you partake in like cold showers or ice baths. Yeah, so there were over like 3,000 candidates in the study. So the results are quite valid. In terms of that's like the scientific benefit. In terms of anecdotes, I would say that the use of like cold showers can increase your like bandwidth to stressors. The way that I think about it is like when I exercise, there's this like voice inside my head that always like kicks in at a certain point and tells me like you can't keep going, or like this is too difficult. And my purpose of like the reason why I take cold showers is just to like give distance between like myself and that voice. So it either comes much later or whenever eventually if those negative thoughts start to like surface, I have a tool to like suppress them. I don't know if Martin or Kevin have any anecdotes as to why they were doing cold showers in the past.
How to get used to stress is to be stressed. That's my
Martin, you have
take on it.
anything?
If you want to get used to being stressed, then you have to expose yourself to more stress. And ice baths is just another way to stress yourself while getting a benefit at the same time. So in a way, it's just like working out.
I never really thought too much about, well, at the beginning anyways, why I wanted to jump in the cold water. Because the first time I got exposed to cold showers was in high school. And then I would just full blasted, put on freezing. And then I was just like, wow, this is like really fun. And then back in November, that was the first time when Kevin and I, well, close to the first times where we went into the Ottawa River. And then we stayed in the water for, I think it was like 5 minutes. And it was just, I don't know, it was just fantastic. And it was just like a ton of fun. For the first time in my life, it was like the voices that you hear in your head that you make you think about all the things that make you worry. It is just gone. Because the only thing you can focus on is like, holy shit, I'm gonna die here. But you're not gonna die though, because you're only in the water. It's like you're controlling. It's like it's a safe danger zone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a good thing you brought up that point because I was trying to find more studies pertaining to the benefits of ice bath and cold showers. There were some that like talked about how you could use it as a treatment for like depression and whatnot, but there wasn't like too much conclusive evidence, so I didn't add it in. But I think that's something that could be like interesting for the community to explore in the future. That's a good point. All right. So if you're interested in doing this, like my recommendation is you go on YouTube to search up like Wim Hof breathing method. There's an 11-minute guide. It's entirely free. So you just lay on your back or sit down on the ground. You just do this breathing technique for 11 minutes. I personally recommend that you just lay on your back. I find that a lot of times, like when people are sitting on the ground or like in a chair, that they'll be like hunched over and whatnot. It could basically, it's just not optimal for your like positioning. So in the studies that I talked about before, so the participants, they started off with the hot showers and they finished their shower with either 30, 60, or 90 seconds of cold water. I recommend that you just start at 30 seconds and increase the load like progressively so that you don't you don't like overstimulate yourself the first time. Because if you go like balls to the walls on the first try, it's most likely that you won't enjoy it. And it's also likely that you won't pick up the habit if you just exert yourself to too much stress the first time. At the same time, the reason why I recommend doing the Wim Hof breathing method, because it's sort of like a controlled version of hyperventilation. And obviously, like when you get hit by the cold water, you'll be hyperventilating. So it just gives you like a good tool to respond to the stressor. Yeah, so I just recommend that like when you turn the water from hot to cold, you just have it in the back of your mind that, you know, just focus on your breathing. Honestly, your breathing is what's really going to calm you down, and it will get you through the entire cold water exposure like much faster. Also, it'd be cool if in 2022 we have a collective ice bath somewhere. But anyways, I'll consider organizing that in 2022. Does anyone have any other questions on ice baths or cold water immersion? All right, we'll move on. So meditation. So I'm just going to read a quick excerpt from the Headspace website. So meditation isn't about becoming a different person, a new person, or even a better person. It's about training and awareness and getting a healthy sense of perspective. You're not trying to turn off your thoughts or feelings. You're learning to observe them without judgment. And eventually you may start to better understand them as well. So benefits. So psychological skills training or mindfulness training has been shown to lower stress, decrease anxiety, and produce long-lasting physical changes in the brain. So as I mentioned before, optimal performance is influenced both by your physical abilities, but as well as your focus. So PST or physical psychological skills training will help with the latter much more than the former. So there are a lot of studies done in the States, in the UK. They did a lot of studies on soccer players and golfers that show that like mindfulness training or PST does increase athletic performance. The reason for this is it's not a one-to-one association to say that like mindfulness increases your performance. Is when they did an analysis of the participants, for example, after the study, they gave them like a survey. When they did analysis on the survey, it just showed that of the 5 factors that could improve that affect your performance, mindfulness training directly has an impact on 3 of those 5 factors. I'll show you a info chart after. At the same time, like mindfulness training, what it does to the athlete is it gives them more confidence to overcome barriers. It really depends on the kind of meditation training that you're doing, because there are specific guided meditations for athletic performance. So this is what I was talking about before, like the mindfulness training doesn't directly affect performance. However, it does have an impact on team cohesion, the leadership of the individual, as well as their receptiveness to coaching. The 2 other factors that are not really impacted by mindfulness are your raw skills and the years of training that you have in your sport. So how to practice meditation? I'm not really an expert, but from my experience, I would say that you have to find the right environment. So the environment where you practice your meditation, it doesn't have to be completely silent. In fact, if you do like guided meditation, sometimes you'll be asked to observe the external noise. For consistency, it's best to do it at the same time every day just to build up the habit. I would say after the first month, you don't really have to keep doing it at the same time every day. It's just best to do it at the same time for the first month so that you develop the skill. Personally, I find it's a very difficult skill to acquire, like just to sit still or to lay down for like an extended period of time without doing anything is quite difficult if you consider like all the stimulus you have in everyday life. So for the positioning, you can either do it cross-legged on the ground, on a chair, or lying down. I think you should start off with sitting in a chair. If you start off lying on the ground or lying down, my bad, there's good chances you'll fall asleep. Like I remember when I was starting off, I would fall asleep like maybe 60% of the time if I lay down. So it was pretty bad. For consistency's sake, I just recommend you sit. So yeah, something a good resource would be the Headspace guided meditation. I know there's something called open-minded meditation where you just sit down for like X number of minutes and you try to basically engage or disassociate from your thoughts. But in Headspace, the goal really is to give you the tools to be more of an observer rather than a participant in your thoughts. The purpose of this is just so that you have the tools to not be overwhelmed by stressors. At the same time, in the Headspace, part of the Headspace program is there's like a series related specifically to sports performance, which could be also useful for athletes. So that pretty much concludes my brief presentation. I don't know if you guys have any questions regarding ice baths or meditation.
Did you talk about? I came late. Did you talk about the usage of ice baths, meditation in the military?
Meditation is not really talked about within the military. Yeah, so for those who don't know, like I have a background in the military. But ice baths, okay, none of these two tools are really used throughout the military. It's just what I've been using because I have like mentorship from like specific people within the military. Like I have mentorship from people that are like high performance. And so these are some of the things that I've heard about that could be beneficial. That these are things that I still do just because like from just my personal experience, it has benefited my performance. So really these are like like they're not like directly they're not sport specific. They're more like for your like psychological capacity.
Life specific.
Yeah, life specific as well.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
What's your personal experience with the benefits of meditation?
I would say one of the main benefits is um, it's really I have a much better time of letting go, specifically like stress or like negative thoughts. At the same time, like my self-talk during like really stressful like workouts is a lot better as well. Um, yeah, because I work in the military, like the schedule is like always changing, and it's really giving me like a better means of focusing and like whatever task is immediate and moving on. Like I find that I'm much better at that nowadays due to like the meditation. I've been meditating for like 2 years, so I've had enough exposure to like recognize the benefits of doing like the practices.
It's interesting when you said you want to become an observer of your own thoughts, and you want to observe your thoughts without judgment. I think that encapsulates it perfectly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's very difficult to let go of thoughts. In fact, like I still struggle sometimes. Um, but if you do the Headspace like guided series, there's a pretty whatever the meditation leader like always is pretty good at reminding you to be more of an observer, to focus on things such as your breathing, to disassociate yourself from your thoughts. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Clarify about the ice baths, because at the beginning you
Yeah.
were talking about the rice method and then how it was
Mhm.
like disproven. So are ice baths not good, or are they good?
I would say they're not good as a recovery tool. So like for example, if you do strenuous exercise, it's not it wouldn't be like the best thing to do an ice bath like say like shortly after workout or like right after. But you could do it like say many hours after if you want to like just do it for the challenge, for that kind of like uh to inoculate yourself to the stress. But it's really not good as a recovery tool. I haven't looked into like for example those studies that I mentioned, the 198 the meta-analysis of the 198 studies. I'm not sure how far, like I'm not sure how long after the exercise the participants were told to like take an ice bath. But usually in studies, it's like right after or like shortly after. So I'm sure if you do it, if you take a cold shower like many hours after exercise, it won't have an impact on your like your strength gains, for example. But I'd have to verify that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just missed that
Yeah, no,
that
yeah.
detail. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look at some of the studies to see how shortly after exercise the participants took a cold shower. But I'll let you know. That's a good point.
Can I just add a little thought? So like because I study kinesiology, and then part of it is like part of my undergrad is studying for rehab and physiotherapy. And in terms of, so we use hot, and then we use cold in different ways. We use the cold mostly for like to reduce pain, but not exactly to promote healing. And I got that drilled in into my head because we used to think like, okay, when you have swelling, you put on ice and then all that stuff. But actually, it is not the ice that exactly reduces the swelling, but it's the elevation and then the compression of the swelling that reduces the swelling. So yeah, just want to throw that out.
Yeah, I agree. Like I got an injury 2 years ago, and my uncle, who's a doctor in Vietnam, even him, like his knowledge is outdated in a sense, because like when I had my injury, the first thing he did was put ice on it. What I noticed more is like when you do elevation, it actually decreases the swelling dramatically compared to icing. That's from my personal experience.
Mhm.
But it's a difficult misconception to like correct, because I guess the entire like sports community at large thinks that icing is such a healthy practice.
Yeah. I think because like in first aid, we just think, okay, ice, we just need ice. Because of rice, like the most, like in terms of rice, the most important thing we think about is to get ice, and not exactly the 3 other steps.
It just seems really logical, I find, but
Yeah.
it doesn't actually help you that much.
Yeah.
It just gets rid of the pain, and we're really obsessed of getting rid of pain.
Yeah.
But sometimes accepting the pain is okay, which sort of ties in your meditation thing with your ice bath, right? If you can control, not necessarily control your thoughts, but observe your thoughts, then you can also observe your pain.
Safe pain. You put it
Safe pain. Safe danger zones.
really well. Safe danger zones.
Yeah.
That's the key. All right, good stuff. Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much
Is
concludes the
there more
presentation.
questions? If not, then I'll stop the recording.